Welcome back to the DrPhil podcast. And today it's just you and me. I don't have a guest here because you're the guest. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your family. And you've heard me say that the strength of any society, the strength of our entire country, the backbone is the family unit. I'm talking about your family. I'm not talking about families in general. I'm talking about your family. And I can tell you right up front that I'm going to be asking you some questions, and I'm going to be inviting you to ask me some questions. You're going to hear me say some things today, and this is part of a series. And I'm going to tell you why it's a series. I'm going to tell you why I want you to be asking me some questions. This is a conversation. I don't want to be talking at you. I want to be talking with you. Now, a lot of you have been really interested in the things that I've been talking about. Some of you have said, I wish you would spend more of your time talking about the things that you've always talked about, our family, our kids, our parenting, our marriage, and that sort of thing. And that is important to me. And I am going to be talking about that and talking about a lot. Now, if you're a parent, I'm going to be talking to you as a parent. If you're an adult child, maybe you're one of these kids in college that listens to me on YouTube or whatever. But all of us are a member of a family, and that's our unit. The reason I'm talking about this is because there's something that I believe in a lot, and it's generational legacy. I'm a parent. I'm also a son. My mother and father have passed, but I've been a son with 3 sisters. 2 of them have passed also. But as a father of 2 sons and 4 grandchildren, I really do spend some time thinking about what I call generational legacy. One of the most important things that we have as family members is the impact that we have on our people, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, and as parents, our children. You've heard me say before, and if you haven't, you'll hear me say it now, the most powerful role model in any child's life is the same-sexed parent. The second most powerful role model is the other-sexed parent. So you don't get much of a bit of a relief. If you're a parent, you have a big responsibility. You've heard the old saying that children learn what they live. I mean, it was an anonymous poem. I think they finally figured out who wrote it, but it is true. Children learn what they live. And you may think, oh, my kids don't listen to me. They may not listen to you. They may roll their eyes when you talk, but they're always watching. They're always watching what you do. Do you live with passion? Do you live with depression? Did you sell out? Are you excited about your life? You are an important role model. And, you know, we wake up and we do what we do in our family. And if we want to change what we do, we have to do it on purpose. We have to change the trajectory of our family. If we change it, we have to put it on what I call project status. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say you decide you got to paint your garage. You want to get it painted. Well, what are the chances you're going to get it painted just because you're aware that your garage needs painting versus you wake up on a Monday and say, okay, come Saturday, I'm painting the damn garage. And I got to make some plans to do that. You've put it now on project status. Like Monday or Tuesday, you're going to figure out what color you want it painted. Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to get the paint, you're going to get the rollers, you're going to get the brushes. Friday, you're going to get everything out of that garage. And Saturday morning, you've cleared your deck and you're going to get in there and you're going to paint that. That's what I call putting something on project status. When you make a plan, You set a timeline, you identify the steps necessary to get it done, and then you start executing. That's what's going to happen if you want to change the trajectory of your family. Maybe you want to change it, maybe you don't. I don't know. You may think your family is great, and if it is, congratulations. I'm not saying that sarcastically. I mean, seriously, if you love the way your family works, you love the communication, you love the direction, you love the trajectory, congratulations. Preserve that, relish in that. But if there are things you want to change, you've got to put it on project status. And you've got to decide, what do you decide is success? Have you really thought about what you want to decide is the definition of success for your family? I can tell you, I grew up in a broken family. I grew up in a very broken family. It was chaotic. It was drunk. My father was a terrible alcoholic. I had 3 sisters. 2 of them were like wild animals. They just ran around doing all kinds of crazy stuff from the time they were like 12, 13, 14 years old. I never knew what was going on. It was broken. And I never knew if the utilities were going to be on. I never knew if the car was going to be repossessed. I never knew if the windows were going to be kicked out of the house when I got home. I never knew what was going to be going on. It was a broken family. That was not my definition of success. I knew when I got to have my own family, it was not going to be that way. I made that decision. How about you? What kind of generational legacy are you creating for your current family? You have to decide, what from the family I grew up in do I want to carry forward? And what from the family I grew up in do I want to leave behind? Because you get to make that choice, but you have to do it on project status. You know, we have something that you've heard me talk about a lot called self-worth. When you decide what's your worth, what do you deserve? What do you think you're entitled to in this life? What do you think you're worth? But there's also something called family worth. I can remember times in my life when I was growing up where I saw people that were happy and they seemed successful, they seemed to have joy, they seemed to have happiness. And I looked at that and thought, you know, that's great, but that's for them. That's not for us. That may be who they are, but that's not who we are. That's not what we deserve. That's not what we'll have. That's not what we will live. That's what I mean when I say we were broken. And the important thing about that is whatever you believe you deserve is what you'll generate for yourself in your life, personally and for your family. If you believe you're a broken family, if you believe you're second class, you will generate results that broken second class people generally wind up with. And that's how we lived a lot of my life growing up. My family was so broken that I went in and out my bedroom window instead of going through the house to exit through the door because I didn't want to go through all of that chaos. I didn't want to bring that forward. I didn't want that to be the generational legacy that I carried forward to my current family. I said my dad was an alcoholic, so I made a life decision. Life decisions are those things that you make one time and you don't ever have to revisit again. You just made that decision and you don't ever have to go back and debate that with yourself again. I made the decision, I'm not going to drink in my life. And so I haven't had a drink in over 50 years, probably 60 years. I just made a life decision. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to introduce that in my life. I'm not going to introduce that in my family's life. Are you settling for things you don't want in your family? You have to make that decision. And there's an old saying in Texas, sometimes you got to rise above your raisin. Maybe you were raised at this level, you want to rise above that. You want to rise above your raisin. What do you want them to say about you when you're gone? There's an old saying that you always hear people say, my dad used to say, or my dad used to do this, my mom used to say, or my grandmother used to say. What do you want them saying about you when you're gone? Think about that.